Hello and welcome. This is ASU TV News. I am Tina Oje Achu. The headlines. President Bola Tinubu gives democracy speech, urged citizens not to start believing in the nation. Lawmaker void arrest warrant against former NNPC CEO Kyari. FCT Tribunal affirms Kasimo Muhammad Ikwa's election as chairman of Gwagwalada Area Council. And Nigerian customs intensify crackdown on vegetable oil smuggling. And now, the news in detail. President Bola Tinubu has urged Nigerians to continue holding his administration accountable, declaring that citizenship criticism is essential to democracy. He also warned against losing faith in the nation and its institutions. In a Democracy Day message on Friday, the president said disagreement with those in power should not translate into cynicism about Nigeria's future.
Democracy and the enduring Nigerian spirit. For 27 unbroken years, since May 29, 1999, Nigerians have chosen their leaders through the ballot, witnessed peaceful transition of power, and resolved disagreement in courtrooms and legislative chambers, not through violence. We have experienced the longest stretch of civilian rule in our history. Our democracy is not perfect, but it is ours, and we must continue to defend and strengthen it. In the coming days, Ekiti and Osun states will hold elections. I urge INEC, security agencies, and all parties to ensure these polls are peaceful and credible. Democracy fails when citizens doubt the process.
Addressing the National Assembly, the judiciary, the media and civil society organizations, the president described them as the guardians of the nation's republic, stressing that their role in questioning authority and defending democratic principles remains indispensable. President Tinubu insisted that rather than seeking unquestioning loyalty, democracy thrives on scrutiny and robust public discourse, provided citizens remain committed to the Nigerian project. He also urged stakeholders ahead of the forthcoming elections in Ekiti and Osun State to ensure that the polls are peaceful and credible. He reserved a special message for Nigeria's young people, encouraging them not to give up on the country despite its challenges, stating that Nigeria is home and their future, urging them to build, code, work, and vote at home, as every great nation, he said, was built by those who stayed to serve problems, not by those who abandoned ship. He further commended the armed forces, police and intelligence agencies for their sacrifices in safeguarding the nation, while thanking traditional rulers, religious leaders and community heads for supporting peace and reconciliation efforts. Similarly, President Bola Tinubu has issued one of his strongest warnings to bandits, kidnappers and sponsors of terrorism, declaring that those who continue to threaten Nigeria's peace and security will face the full force of the law. In a hard-hitting nationwide Democracy Day broadcast message on Friday aimed at criminal elements across the country, the president said the window for surrender and repentance would not remain open indefinitely. His comments come amid recurring debates over the identity of criminal groups and concerns that insecurity could deepen ethnic divisions in the country. However, even as he vowed decisive action against perpetrators of violence, President Tinubu cautioned Nigerians against politicizing insecurity or attaching criminality to any ethnic group. He said rather than succumb to mutual suspicion, urged Nigerians to unite against a common enemy, declaring that the nation must be united and assured that the enemies of the nation shall soon be history. The president expressed confidence that Nigeria would ultimately overcome its security challenges and emerge stronger. The European Union has congratulated Nigeria on the occasion of Democracy Day, describing democracy as a continuous process built on participation, dialogue, accountability, and inclusive governance. In a Democracy Day message, the European Union ambassador to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Gautier Mignard, said the day provides an opportunity to reflect on Nigeria's democratic journey since the end of military rule and to acknowledge the efforts of millions of citizens contributing to the nation's development. The ambassador noted that Nigeria's democracy continues to evolve through civic participation, institutional reforms, and the growing involvement of women, young people, and community groups in governance. He commended the resilience of Nigerians in strengthening democratic values despite existing challenges. Mike North highlighted the European Union's support for democratic governance in Nigeria through the EU Support to Democratic Governance in Nigeria program. He said the initiative supports electoral processes, legislative engagement, peace-building efforts, judicial collaboration, and broader citizen participation in democratic processes. The ambassador also reaffirmed the EU's commitment to promoting inclusion, supporting independent media, and strengthening access to credible public information. He added that through its Global Gateway strategy, the European Union will continue to invest in partnerships that enhance opportunity, participation, and long-term resilience. He wished Nigerians a happy Democracy Day and urged continued commitment to democratic ideas. The Senate has declared that the warrant of arrest issued against former Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mele Kyari, null and void, ruling that the action was not in accordance with established Senate rules and procedures. The decision followed a point of order raised by the Senate leader, Bayemi Bamidele, who argued that the Senate Committee on Public Account lacked the authority to order the arrest of any government official or head of a public institution. Bamidele also took exception to comments allegedly made by Senator Adams Oshomole during the committee's proceedings, in which he reportedly noted that the NNPCL had no reputation left to protect. The Senate leader described the remarks as unprecedented and inconsistent with parliamentary standards. Several senators supported Bamidele's position, maintaining that the NNPCL remains Nigeria's foremost revenue-generating enterprise and should not be portrayed in a manner capable of eroding public confidence in the organization. Speaking during the debate, Senator Orji Uzor Kalu said it was unacceptable to criminalize the NNPCL, describing the company as the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy. Similarly, Senator Tahi Monguno faulted the comments attributed to Oshomole, insisting that criticism of the institution should be measured and based on verified facts. In his defense, Oshomole expressed disappointment and attention was being focused on his remarks rather than the substantive issues raised during the investigation. He argued that the committee's inquiry into allegations of the over 210 trillion naira in unaccounted funds remained the central issue and accused the NNPCL of showing disrespect to the Senate despite its status as one of the country's wealthiest public enterprises. Addressing the matter, Senate President Godswill Akpabio directed that the warrants be set aside and assured lawmakers that the NNPCL would continue to discharge its statutory responsibilities. The House of Representatives passed the Constitutional Amendment Bill seeking to establish state police in the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. The resolution followed the voting by 289 lawmakers in favor of state police during the plenary session presided over by the Speaker, Tajuddin Abbas. The House had earlier announced on Thursday's plenary to vote on the state police bill following the spike in killings, kidnappings, and banditry in the past few months. Before the voting began, Abbas announced that the electronic voting system was faulty noting that the exercise would be conducted based on attendance. Out of the 290 members in attendance, 289 voted in favor of state police, while 1 voted against. The Speaker abstained from voting. The First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, has called on governments, communities, families and stakeholders to invest more in the well-being of children, saying such efforts are critical to protecting them from child labor and securing a brighter future for the next generation. In a message marking the 2026 World Day Against Child Labor on Friday, Mrs. Tinubu stressed the need to create opportunities that would empower families and communities to adequately care for children and shield them from exploitation. She urged citizens to continue to invest in the well-being of the nation's children and create opportunities that empower families and communities to take care of them. She made the appeal as the world commemorated this year's World Day Against Child Labor with the theme Red Card to Child Labor, Play Fair for Children, Decent Work for Adults. According to her, the theme serves as a reminder of the collective responsibility to protect every child's right to safety, education, dignity, and overall well-being. The National Chairman, APC, Professor Nantawe Iwada, has inaugurated National Campaign Council for the Ekiti State Governorship election. Inaugurating the committee, Professor Nantawe said Governor Biodun is a gift to the state following his infrastructural development, which has guaranteed his re-election. He said the campaign committee is all-inclusive for both the youth and women. Responding, the chairman of the National Campaign Council and the governor of Kaduna State, Senator Dr. Ubasani, accepted the responsibility with saying that the campaign council would be targeting an increase of over 100% in the number of votes for Governor Oyebanji and a margin of not less than 500,000 votes over his closest rival. He said this is not just a numerical target, but it is about ensuring that the progress made by the APC government continues and that every citizen can partake in the benefit of good governance. The co-chairman, APC National Campaign Council for Ekiti State Governorship election, the president of the Senate, Gospel Akpabio, said, with the caliber of people that attended the inauguration, clearly showed victory for the party in Ekiti State. The Ekiti State Governorship Election National Campaign Council is made up of about 75 members, broken in different committees for easy coordination. You're watching Asa Television News. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 392, also on Star Times TV channel 127 and Free TV channel 507. We are also on the UHF band on channel 38. Still to come, FCT Tribunal affirms Kasimo Muhammad Ikwa's election as chairman of Gwagwalada Area Council. Stay with us for details of this and more. Thanks for joining us again. The FCT Area Council Election Petition Tribunal has affirmed the election of Comrade Kasimo Muhammad Ikwa of the People's Democratic Party as the duly elected chairman of Gwagwalada Area Council. Delivering the judgment, chairman of the tribunal, Justice Bolaji Abdul-Hakim, dismissed the petition filed against the election, ruling that the case lacked credible evidence and failed to establish the allegations brought before the court. In a unanimous judgment, the tribunal held that Comrade Kasimo Muhammad satisfied all the legal requirements for the election and was validly returned as the winner, having secured the highest number of lawful votes cast. Justice Abdul Hakim stated that a petitioner, Alhaji Usman Yahaya of the All Progressive Congress, alongside his party, failed to prove allegations of overvoting and other electoral irregularities. He noted that the petitioners did not provide sufficient evidence to support their claims. The tribunal subsequently dismissed the petition for lack of merit and affirmed Comrade Kasimu Muhammad Ikwa as a duly elected chairman of Gwaglada Area Council. It will be recalled that the returning officer for the February 21 Gwaglada chairmanship election, Dr. Philip Agben, had announced the election results after a collation at the Independent National Electoral Commission office. According to the result, Comrade Kasimu pulled 22,165 votes to emerge victorious over other candidates in the contest. Reacting to the judgment, Comrade Kasimu Muhammad Ikwa described the tribunal's decision as a victory for democracy and the people of Gwaglada. He expressed gratitude to the judiciary for upholding justice and pledged to focus on providing purposeful leadership and delivering meaningful development projects that would improve the lives of residents across the area council. Kasimu assured the people of Gwaglada that his administration would remain committed to transparency, inclusiveness, and accelerated grassroots development. In a related development, the All Progressive Congress chairmanship candidate in the last FCT Area Council elections in Gwaglada, Alhaji Usman Yahaya, has expressed sincere appreciation to his supporters, party faithful and well-wishers who have remained steadfast in the struggle to reclaim what he described as a people's mandate. Reacting to the judgment of the FCT Area Council Election Petition Tribunal, Haji Yahaya urged all his supporters to remain calm, peaceful, and law-abiding, noting that they have consistently demonstrated maturity and respect for the rule of law throughout the electoral process. He stated that the party's legal team, the APC leadership, and other relevant stakeholders would carefully study the tribunal's judgment and determine the appropriate next course of action in accordance with the law. The APC candidate also called on all political stakeholders, particularly members and supporters of the People's Democratic Party, to respect the fundamental right of all residents of Gwaglada and refrain from any form of intimidation, violence, or actions capable of causing a breakdown of law and order. Alhaji Yahaya reassured the people of Gwaglada of his continued commitment to justice, peace, and democratic principles, while urging residents to remain united and maintain peace as the legal process continues. The presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Prince Adewale Adebayo, has urged Nigerians to renew their commitment to democracy, credible elections, constitutional government, and the welfare of the people as the country marks the 33rd anniversary of the historic June 12, 1993 presidential election. In his Democracy Day message to Nigerians, Adebayo described June 12 as a sacred reminder of the power of the people's will and the heavy price paid by patriots in the struggle for democratic rule. He recalled that on June 12, 1993, Chief Moshood Olawale Abiola contested the presidential election on the platform of the Social Democratic Party with the message of farewell to poverty and won the confidence of millions of Nigerians across the country. According to him, the election represented a glorious opportunity for Nigeria to lead Africa and the wider world in democratic renewal at a time where apartheid still existed in South Africa and many African nations were still under military rule. Adebayo said the annulment of the election by the military government was a betrayal of the constitution and the sovereignty of Nigerians, stressing that no power can truly annul the will of the people. He also acknowledged the late President Muhammadu Buhari for officially recognizing June 12 as Nigeria's Democracy Day. Adebayo, however, expressed concern that 33 years after the June 12 election, Nigeria is still struggling with many of the same democratic challenges that existed before the historic poll. He said Nigeria cannot honor June 12 by merely observing a public holiday, but by building a political system where votes count, institutions are independent, citizens are protected, and leaders are chosen through free, fair, and credible elections. He called for the emergence of a government that will uphold Chapter 2 of the Nigerian Constitution, particularly the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, with the welfare, security, and well-being of Nigerians placed at the center of governance. The Inspector General of Police, IGP Olatunji Disu, has approved the deployment of Deputy Inspectors General of Police to their respective geopolitical zones with effect from Monday, 15th June 2026. The deployment is aimed at strengthening operational effectiveness and embracing supervision as efforts intensify to secure the release of students and teachers recently abducted in Oyo State. IGP Disu announced the deployment during a meeting with senior police officers at the Goodluck Jonathan Peacekeeping Hall, Force Headquarters in Abuja.
The Deputy Inspector Generals of Police are expected to work closely with the Assistant Inspector General of Police and Commissioners of Police in ensuring that operational directives are effectively implemented and measurable results achieved. Let me make it clear that this deployment is not ceremonial. It is intended to bring leadership closer to the field, improve response mechanism, and ensure that emerging security threats receive prompt and coordinated attention. In addition, I hereby direct all Commissioners of Police to immediately establish what I term the Handshake Patrol. Commissioners of Police in contiguous states. Criminals do not respect state boundaries. Too often, offenders exploit jurisdictional gaps by committing crimes in one state and escaping to another.
While disclosing that progress had already been made in ongoing rescue efforts of the students and teachers, the police boss also ordered a nationwide enforcement operation targeting vehicles operating without registration plates, as well as those with concealed, altered, or defaced number plates, warning that such vehicles are frequently used by kidnappers, terrorists, and other criminal groups to evade detection.
This practice is unlawful, irresponsible, and unacceptable. I wish to state that from today, the Nigerian police force will no longer tolerate such acts of impunity. Every vehicle operating on our roads must be properly registered and must display its approved registration number in accordance with the law. Any vehicle found without number plates or with deliberate, obscured, concealed, or tampered registration number will be stopped, impounded, and subjected to the appropriate legal process. Vehicles registration is not merely an administrative requirement. It is a critical component of crime prevention, intelligence gathering, and national security.
The renewed directive comes amid sustained effort by security agencies to combat kidnapping, banditry, and other violent crimes across the country. Now, the Group Chief Executive Officer of Ethiopian Airlines, Mesfiu Tasu, has congratulated Aviation and Aerospace Development Minister Festus Keyamo on his appointment by the African Development Bank as champion of the $7 billion Integrated Aviation Transformation Program for Africa. In a personally signed message, Tasso described the appointment as recognition of Keyamo's leadership and commitment to advancing aviation development in Nigeria and across the continent. He said the confidence reposed in the Nigerian minister by the African Development Bank reflects Africa's belief in his ability to drive reforms, modernize the aviation sector, and attract strategic investment for sustainable growth. The Ethiopian Airlines chief noted that the appointment comes at a crucial time when African nations are seeking to leverage aviation as a catalyst for trade, tourism, investment, and regional integration. Tasso also expressed confidence that the Integrated Aviation Transformation Program would create new opportunities for airlines, airports, and investors across Africa, while reaffirming Ethiopian Airlines' readiness to support the initiative. The endorsement adds to growing continental support for Nigeria's role in efforts to transform Africa's aviation industry and strengthen connectivity across the continent. The Nigeria Customs Service said it has intensified effort to combat the smuggling of vegetable oil into the country. The Controller General of Customs, Adewale Adeniyi, disclosed this during a meeting with stakeholders in the vegetable oil industry at the service headquarters in Maitama, Abuja. According to him, NCS plans to launch intelligence-driven special operations aimed at protecting local investments, preserving jobs, and supporting the growth of the agricultural value chain. Adeniyi said the service remains committed to tackling smuggling through strategic enforcement, intelligence gathering, and stakeholders' collaboration. He noted that customs and operators in the vegetable oil sector share a common objective of protecting legitimate businesses, encouraging investment, and strengthening the national economy. CGC Adeniyi explained that addressing smuggling requires sustained cooperation between government agencies and the private sector, particularly in sectors that contribute significantly to employment generation and economic development. And on sports, Nigeria Super Eagles retained their 26th place position in the FIFA World Rankings released on Thursday, remaining the third highest ranked side in Africa as reigning world champions Argentina held firm at the summit ahead of the 2026 World Cup. The Super Eagles are the second highest ranked nation to miss the expanded 48-team World Cup, with only Denmark ranked 21st globally, sitting above them among countries that failed to qualify. Nigeria's mixed run of the results in the June international window left their position unchanged. The three-time African champions won the Unity Cup Invitational Tournament in London, defeating Zimbabwe 2-0 and Jamaica 3-0, then drew 2-2 with Poland in Warsaw before suffering a 2-1 defeat to Portugal in Lera on Wednesday. Morocco and Senegal remain ahead of Nigeria in the African standings, with Algeria and Egypt completing the continent's top 5. At the top of the global table, Argentina reclaimed first place ahead of the World Cup, with Spain second and France third after a mixed international window. England and Portugal completes the top 5. And that's the bulletin, but before we go, let's take another look at one of our major stories. President Bola Tinubu has urged Nigerians to continue holding his administration accountable, declaring that criticism is essential to democracy. I am Tina Oje Achu. Thanks for watching.